Waffle House. In 2023, they actually reported close to $1.4 billion in revenue. And they did this with very little spend in advertising. How does this even relate to me creating quality content? One of the biggest problems I see with content creation is that there are 100 different ways to create content, but you need to stick for one and get those reps, right? The distribution is earned. You don't just put something out there and then a bunch of people are going to react. You need to earn that distribution by consistently putting content out. If you know how to expand ideas and frame them correctly for your listeners, you will be able to create content consistently and resonate at the same time. Welcome back to Content is Profit. It's been a while since it's a solo episode, just myself without my brother. But today, I want to share with you a few lessons that I learned from Waffle House and another creator. You might be asking yourself, Waffle House, the restaurant that is delicious? Yes, it is. Yes, Waffle House. In 2023, they actually reported close to $1.4 billion in revenue. That is a lot of money. And they did this with very little spend in advertising. So you might be asking yourself, how did they do it? How does this even relate to me creating quality content? And the lesson here is going to help you pretty much build upon any idea to easily create content, right? The basis of this strategy was created by John Brosio. Saw him on Twitter, right? He uses this mostly on the traffic, how to build your traffic towards you. But when I read it, I said, this would be such a good idea just for creating content in general. You can use it the way he uses it for traffic as well. But in my mind, as a creator, I was like, imitate, then create, right? So I saw his strategy and I was like, how can I use this? How can I make this strategy mine? And for me, it became part of the creative process. So let's back up a little bit onto Waffle House, right? What is their strategy? How can they achieve $1.4 billion in revenue with minimum spend on advertising? Well, their whole strategy is that they set near high traffic areas. And you can start seeing where this is going, right? They set their Waffle House, they build them very close to Walmart, which Walmart spent millions upon millions on advertising. They have so much freaking traffic every single day. And Waffle House, by being near to the locations, they just get a lot of traffic, right? Every time you see the brick and mortar you're driving through, you're like, look at that, Waffle House, Waffle House, Waffle House. That is pretty much free advertising for them. So what John Brosio, when he saw this, he started thinking, I need to put myself into these high traffic areas and then start creating content, right? And he has 3 steps for this. Now, again, his is attached to traffic, which it is an incredible strategy if you want new traffic, new eyeballs into your content. The 3 steps that he developed, right? I like to adapt them into the creative process, if you want to put it that way, right? I go into something that Tim Ferris said, you want more inputs in your life, more inputs and more quality outputs, maybe less volume, because right now it's a little bit challenging to compete on volume with all the ChatGPT. You want to compete on quality. So we're consuming, as expert-based businesses, we are consuming content pretty much on a consistent basis. So when we are consuming this content, you got to put the frame of mind on, okay, am I learning something here? Can I use this to build upon and create content as well, right? You are giving yourself some inputs, and based on those inputs, you're going to create. Now, these are the 3 ways that came from, that Waffle House strategy that you can think about creating content. And I'm going to give you examples on this, right? Like, fun fact, this same episode came from an input and I expanded on some of this stuff and I created this own episode. But I listen to podcasts all the time. And when I listen to something that, catches my attention, I'm like, ooh, this would be good to talk about, right? And again, it has references. I can expand upon it. I have knowledge that I myself can add on it. I create a little snip on my phone. I write it down, write the idea, write what I want to communicate, and then later on, I can sit down and develop this idea further. So once you find the big traffic or the big idea that you would like to expand on, there are three ways that you can do this, right? First is horizontal, right? You can listen to an idea in a very specific niche, right? That is not yours, but you can see the bridge into connecting that idea for your own niche, right? Quick example off the top of my head. I'm in a soccer team nowadays, and guess what? Part of the training, it's a lot of running, just lots of running. You need to build that fitness, right? That endurance. So me looking at that, I'm like, okay, well, how could that potentially relate to content creation? Well, turns out you need a lot of reps. You need to develop your own endurance when it comes to content creation, which comes by practicing, right? And being consistent. I want to be good at sharing my message. I want to be good at creating content. Guess what? You need reps. You're not going to go into game day, make one sprint, and that's it. You're going to have to be sprinting for a full 90 minutes when it comes to soccer. It's the same thing when it comes to creating content. It's a lifetime of creating content and putting your ideas out there, especially if you are an expert-based business. So that is number one, horizontal. Try to see things in other niches, like when you're consuming other type of information, and then see how does this relate to me and my business? How can I make it mine? How can I add value to the people that are following me? Number two is magnify, right? Can we expand on a single idea that we're looking at? So good example is this right now. I saw about the Waffle House strategy from John Brosio, mainly for traffic, but I was like, I can actually expand on the same idea for the creative process. I can use this, right, and make this idea a little bit bigger and not just focus on, the comments that I might be writing, but also how I would like to express my thoughts. Again, you are receiving inputs consistently, right, depending on what you're consuming. And some of those inputs are going to click and you're going to be able to say, I can add more value to that one idea, right? And then it's all about expressing it, right? Going back to those reps. Just do it on a consistent basis. And then number three is building the list. This one is a little bit more straightforward, but there's a lot of content out there that is like, all right, you can do step 1, 2, 3, or these are 5 reasons why you shouldn't create content, in your room, whatever. There's always, and this goes hand in hand with expand, but you can add more points to that list. How do you make that list yours, right? And again, you can use one as a reference and then build upon it. Do not copy it. I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not copy the content, all of it by yourself, but add to it. And always when you are getting inspiration from somebody else's content, make sure you're also sharing their references, right? It's so important, at least for me personally, right? I don't want to look back and, claim that I learned everything by myself. And we had a mentor a while back that he says that we are built upon the shoulders of giants. Nobody comes with the solutions like on their own from nowhere. Like we consumed it or subconscious kept it. And then eventually those lessons rise to the top of mind and we're able to link them to other things. So give credit where credit is due. So I've been writing a piece on this, right? The Waffle House frameworks to create content. I'm going to read this part to you. So one of the easiest frameworks to create content is the Waffle House strategy. Shout out to John Brosio, of course, for introducing this idea. We are consistently consuming content, probably at all times of our life. And sometimes we're dwelling in our thoughts. We're just stuck in there in our minds, remembering previous content that now is top of mind. And we can use that. We can use this mental model, this one framework that I just explained to you, consistently, time over time. Again, this is not a one size fits all, and it might not align with the way that you are creating, right? But maybe it does, right? Maybe it is the one frame where you keep coming back. One of the biggest problems I see with content creation is that there are 100 different ways to create content, right? And people are just jumping from one thing to the other. It's kind of like the shiny object syndrome, right? There are hundreds of ways that you can acquire a customer, right? You can use a webinar, you can use an automated video sales letter, you can do cold calling, right? Multiple things. And people are just jumping from one another, never acquiring customers because they don't stick with one for long enough. And it's the same exact thing with content creation. You might have tried 20 different ways to create content, but you need to stick for one and get those reps, right? Stick to one and get those reps over time so you can develop that habit, develop that practice of creating. Now, you don't need any other frameworks, just this one, to be able to create more quality content of your own. Again, it's called the Waffle House framework. And what it does is that it allows you to grab one idea and then build upon it. Use your inputs, and don't be lazy when building upon it. Don't put the input in ChatGPT and tell them, hey, ChatGPT, tell me how to, write me a 250 atomic essay for my LinkedIn. No, use your brain, especially if you're an expert-based business. There's nothing that bothers me more than an expert-based business that is creating their content off of AI. That for me is an immediate turnoff. If I want to be part of an expert-based business, like expert-based community, right, or a product, I want to make sure that I'm actually feeding from their thoughts. I'm learning from there and not just from a collective data that the machine has, right? Again, I know that I sound like a total ChatGPT hater, AI hater. I'm not an AI hater. I know that it has its uses. But if people are paying you for your thoughts, those thoughts better be, plastered in your message, in your courses, in your product, right? It better be your thought and not just a ChatGPT rendition of a whole bunch of things, right? All right, rant over. So when you listen to an idea, when you listen to one thing that calls your attention and you say, whoa, that could be a good piece of content, then you run it through this mental model that we just walked you by, right? Those 3 different categories. First, you can ask yourself, can I expand on this original idea, right? Can I make it bigger, right? The other one is, can I isolate one single piece inside of this idea and then build upon it? That's the other thing. I'm talking about these 3 steps for the Waffle House strategy. You can just talk about expansion, What does it mean to expand on an idea? How do we expand on an idea? Why would I like to expand on an idea? You see my point, right? These are ways that we can make a single phrase, a single key takeaway, we can make it bigger and important, right? It's about how we frame those ideas. We can talk about the Waffle House strategy, but I can say the most important of this is expansion. Right? If you know how to expand ideas, frame them correctly for your listeners, you will be able to create content consistently and resonate at the same time with the audiences that you're trying to connect. For example, it's a marketing piece, clearly, right? John wrote this, and the article that I read and the research that I did is clearly meant for people that are looking for traffic, right? For marketers or business owners that want more traffic and more eyeballs. But at the same time, there's a little overlap on those people on the creation aspect of things. And they're looking to better express themselves. They're looking to, better create content and systems and processes and just be better creators. So I expand on this one idea because it makes it better for them, right? By expanding this idea, I can demonstrate my expertise on that one thing. And by overlapping with that other audience, I can potentially collect some of that attention, redirect that demand, and have people paying attention to what I'm saying. Now, and the last one, can I complete the list, right? We went by this one. But by you asking yourself these 3 questions, right? This mental model, this will become an easy way for you to create content. Get in the habit. I do that now a little bit easier when I'm listening to things and I have inputs. I'm like, ooh, how can I expand on this? How can I create this? And eventually you're going to have so much material too that you're going to start to be able to make connections. For example, at the beginning of this episode, I did 2 connections to 2 things that I've listened that I'm like, these are actually relevant to this topic as well. And they help me expand on the material. I talked about imitating and then creating, right? I learned that from David Perel. And then talk about inputs and outputs. You want more inputs and less outputs, but you want to make your outputs more quality. And I learned that from a recent podcast that I heard with Tim Ferris. So again, I think it's a great, simple strategy for you to kick off your content. If you already kicked it off, but you're struggling to stay consistent, just stick to this framework. Maybe try it for a few days, 1 week, 7 days, or who knows, maybe 30 days, see what results it gives you, but it's going to help you build up those reps and build up that consistency. The distribution is earned. You don't just put something out there and then a bunch of people are going to react. You need to earn that distribution by consistently putting content out, getting feedback from the audience or from the people that are reading, listening to your message, and then improving on that message. And by showing up consistently, you let them know that you hold a space for them to grow in that topic that you are sharing with them, right? Perfect way for an expert-based business or service to grow their audience. So if you have any questions about this, let me know, hit me up. Hopefully was clear enough the strategy. To recap, Waffle House strategy for content creation specifically is about expanding, right? A single idea, isolating one of the ideas and making it better, right? Or the horizontal, I learn an idea on one different niche. How can I relate that to the niche that I'm on right now? And build up upon the list. Do you have 5 ways to not put your shoes on? Well, let me give you a 6, a 7, and an 8th way to do that. So let me know. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you got value from it, please don't forget to share it with a friend. Make sure you drop a 5-star review and don't forget to follow us at BizBrosco. Until the next one. See ya.